Welcome to day 6 of my 30-day video game review challenge. Today's theme, the earliest game you remember playing. Now, I remember playing some NES games and a lot of Atari games, actually some Atari 5200 games, believe that or not. But really the first game I remember playing, it was called Air Sea Battle on the Atari 2600. I have a lot of great memories with this game. And I have very vivid memories playing this as a 4-5-year-old in my room. And we're going to talk about it and we're going to review it. So let's check it out. I'm giving away a Super Nintendo Classic Edition, and all you have to do to enter my contest is subscribe to my channel, Retro Tony. And I'm going to announce details when we get closer to my 4-year anniversary on July 2nd. Air Sea Battle is one of the earliest Atari 2600 games ever released. It was released in September of 1977, and it's one of the original launch titles on the system. How do I describe an Atari 2600 game? Well, first off, it's almost like an arcade style game, and you can play against a second player. You can play against a computer, but it's almost like you're playing against a monkey who's pushing the fire button over and over and over again. There are 27 different modes you can choose from. You're either the anti-aircraft, or you're a boat, or you are a plane trying to do bombing missions, if you will. Now, you're gonna have to use your imagination when you're playing an Atari 2600 game. But once you get past that, this game is a lot of fun, especially with a second player. You're going to have to experiment a little bit with which mode you like the best. Personally, the anti-aircraft modes are my favorite, but again, just toy around, play with the bomber raid mission, play with the anti-aircraft, and then also the boats. There's some modes where it's a little bit of both, where either you're an aircraft carrier or you're an airplane. I'm playing this on the Atari Flashbacks collection on the Nintendo Switch today, and I recommend that you track down that collection. It's 150 games, Atari games. There's 2600 games, 5200 games, and also a couple of 7800 games. Now, you can track down the loose cartridge. It's running for $4, and it's one of the most common Atari 2600 games out there. Combat probably has it beat. It used to be a pack-in title, so it's pretty easy to find, get a hold of, and I'm pretty sure that every single version of the Atari Flashback system, maybe not the Atari Flashback 1, has this game on it. All right, let's take a critical look, if you will, at Air Sea Battle. It's really hard to review an Atari 2600 game, especially in 2020. It's almost like reviewing a silent film from 1920, if you will. You can't be too hard on it because of the technology from the day, and it can still be a good thing. It can still be its own thing and a masterpiece. But it's still really hard to look backwards. Even when I played this as a kid, it's still difficult for me to review it fairly, if that makes any sense. So the first pro I want to talk about and I have a lot of memories about this, and I'm going to share this with the theme of the day, and that is the multiplayer. This is still a really, really fun multiplayer game. You and a friend can duke it out and compete with one another. Oh my gosh, I had so many good memories playing this game with my brother and actually a few neighborhood friends. The multiplayer will keep you busy. And again, the CPU, I don't recommend the one player mode. It gets really boring really quick. I don't have much else to say about this game. It's really difficult to review an Atari 2600 game. It's just a lot of fun. And you have to experiment and play Atari 2600 games for yourself. You have to give them a try. Yeah, I understand that the graphics are blocky and dated, but there are a lot of fun multiplayer games on the Atari 2600 and just a lot of great games, period, on the Atari 2600. The only con, and it has nothing to do with this particular game, that I have with ARC Battle, playing this on the original Atari 2600. Hooking up an original Atari 2600 can be a pain in the neck, especially if you don't have a CRT television hanging around your home anymore. Now, there are ways around that. There are adapters, but only people like myself who are crazy about the Atari 2600 are going to try to figure that out. I really recommend that you find either a collection with this game on it and a ton of other Atari 2600 games, or get a hold of an Atari flashback system. Is ARC Battle worth playing today? Well, if you're an Atari hound, if you're curious about the past, and you want to play a really fun multiplayer game, I'm going to say yes. Other than that, there's no reason to try to track this game down unless you're a collector or you're an Atari hound, like I said. Now, this game's not going to hold your attention for very long at all. You're going to play it in very short, small spurts. It was very difficult for me to capture the footage for this particular review. A, because I was playing against the computer, and B, it's antiquated, it's slow, but it's still good, it's still fun. And if I was playing against a friend, we would have an absolute blast. The multiplayer is what makes this game, and it makes it a great game. Now, this would be an awesome party game. Pass the controller around, play to your heart's content, and there's just a lot to love with the multiplayer. It's hard to say if it's worth playing. It just depends on your particular taste. If you're a retro gamer, and how far back do you go in the retro video game world? Me personally, I go back as far as I can. I go back to the early 70s and on. So it just depends on you and what you're looking for and what kind of retro experience you want. Daily theme. Earliest game you remember playing. I have so many great memories of playing the Atari 2600 and this particular game. Now, I'm not sure if this was my actual first game or not, but it's the only game I remember playing on the Atari 2600. I have vague memories of holding an Atari 5200 controller, but I have no memories of playing like Pac-Man or Asteroids or anything like that. I do remember playing this game maybe when I was 4 or 5 years old, very, very young. The Atari 2600 was in my room with a black and white TV, and I have memories of playing this before going to school as either a kindergartner or a first grader. Now, this is before we had a Nintendo or a Super Nintendo in the house. And I have a lot of fond memories playing my brother. Now, my brother would beat the pants off of me. It wasn't even close, but I didn't care. I had so much fun playing him. Maybe I just didn't understand the game as well. I also have memories of childhood friends, neighborhood friends coming over, and we would play the living crap out of this game. It's so much fun. The multiplayer is so good. We'd play for hours. Now, later in life, maybe when I was 16, 17 years old, I actually started tracking down Atari 2600 games. I no longer owned an Atari 2600, and I found one at a pawn shop. I bought the Atari 2600, and I started getting a collection together. One game that I found in a big lot, and back then, in the early thousands, Atari 2600 games were dirt cheap. But I found this particular lot, and I totally forgot all about this game, and just testing the games, playing the games, and Air Sea Battle was in there. And I was instantly brought back to those childhood memories of playing this game. This game means so much to me. Even if it isn't the first game I ever played, it's one of the fondest, earliest memories I have of playing a video game, spending time with my brother and my friends. What are some of your earliest memories of playing video games? What's the first game that you remember playing as a kid? What age were you allowed to play video games? Let me know in the comments below. So there's Air Sea Battle on the Atari 2600. One of my earliest memories of playing a video game. What's your earliest memory of playing a video game? Do you remember playing your first video game? Let me know in the comments below. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. That's going to put you in the running for a Super Nintendo Classic Edition that I'm going to be giving away in early July. You can also follow me on Facebook at Retro Tony. Thanks for watching.